All right, guys. Welcome to another episode of Coffee is for Closers. We're back on the microphones due to an enormous amount of complaints.
You got to talk directly into the mic, as you just mentioned. None of this. Otherwise, they won't hear you.
Neck up, parrot. All right. Today what we're going to talk about is lessons learned from 2021. And I guess probably go into the things that we're going to do in 2022. But we're going to go over lessons learned not only from business, but also a sales perspective as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it sounds like a good plan.
All right. Cue the intro.
If you listen to this podcast, you will make your first million within 3 years. I'm going to repeat that. You will make $1 million within 3 years of the first episode you listen to. We don't want pikers. We're not here to save the manatees. We're here to make podcasts. You really want this. You listen and review.
Put that coffee down.
All right, guys. So welcome to 2022. Jimmy.
Yeah, 21.
Jimothy? Can I call you Jimothy?
Well, I mean,
James, Jimothy.
that was a really good joke coming there. I'm like, oh, no, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
We'll have to edit it out anyway.
All right, so lessons learned from 2021. 2021 was a big year. We grew as a business 4.9 times over, which is not too shabby.
It's an average of, 14% month on month?
It was something like that.
Yeah, close.
It was some sort of math ratio.
Yeah. I think that once you extrapolate like the pluses and minuses, it ended up around that.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice. Yeah, that's good. It's heaps good math. So we obviously grew the business quickly and we're still growing. However, I think there were a lot of lessons learned from a sales perspective as well. And I think lots of lessons learned from a business perspective. And today that's what we're going to kind of go into. So what were some of the key, I'll throw you under the bus. What were some of the key takeaways that you had, Jimothy, in 2021? I guess I'll sort of go first. I think like from a sales perspective, I watched a lot of sales reps grow a lot over the year, right? And I think I saw a couple of pitfalls that a lot of salespeople fell into, which was like and it's at both ends of the spectrum. I think from newbies all the way down to, from newbies all the way up to guys who are sort of crushing the game, was like this, like needing to finish the race. The race never finishes. You know what I mean? But there's a need to like kind of get to the end. So if I take like some of our younger guys, and I won't say names as an example, is like when you're around people who are, I guess, like at the top level of the game, like your Marcos and all these guys who are making great money, like you feel like you should be there. Like everyone wants to be there, but you sort of get this feeling like you should be there. These guys are coming in, they've been selling for 2 years or a year, and they feel like because they're in the environment around a bunch of Olympians that they should be, running, 9,500s. Yep. And it's just like, I think because a lot of these new guys coming in, especially in Sales Sniper, are in a situation where like they're surrounded by people who've been selling for 10, 12 years. And they didn't see any of that part.
Yeah.
They've just come in, and they might even see someone come into Sales Sniper and within 6 months be at 30 or 40K a month, but it's like, what did that person do beforehand?
Yeah, I think that was, one of the biggest lessons that I learned this year is just time takes time.
Yeah.
I think one of the, to add on to that is that when you go and see, other people in business that are far more successful than you, is really acknowledging that there's no real difference in skill set. In skill set in the future, right? So sure, they might be far more advanced than you. They might have a better skill set.
At a few particular things.
Precisely. Yeah. But it's because that they've been there longer. And there's, certain people that are at high levels, they're not superheroes. They're just regular guys that have learnt lessons that you're let to learn. They've picked up skills you're let to learn, even if you're on that same trajectory. Yeah. I remember we had a call with someone. We had foreseed this huge problem. All right. We put in a bunch of processes in place to prevent that from becoming worse or significant.
We can talk about it. I think we had a call I remember listening to a podcast with Ryan Serhnant.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how as he grew his company, a large chunk of a certain part, I think it was 60 people in his sales team basically got up and left. He talks about this openly.
I was referring to 3 different things. But
oh yeah,
Brian
so
Serhnant is absolutely one of those.
Yeah, this is really specific. I remember listening to, I can't remember which podcast it was. If I can, I'll link it in the show notes.
On what was that program that got really hyped as a social platform, then disappeared?
Oh yeah, it was on Clubhouse with us.
Yeah, he was on our Clubhouse.
It was on our Clubhouse with us. That's right. He came on and we were on a Clubhouse together talking about sales. And he talked about this thing where, like, the importance of sales teams and management and how, like, he built this giant sales team and had, like, 70% of them just walk out. And I remember being on that Clubhouse going, like, that feels like it could happen.
It could.
And it's because, like, basically he was getting pulled in lots of different directions. And, like, his profile was getting up and up and up and up and up. And so, like, he started to feel like, you guys have only got these leads and these opportunities because my profile. And then they're thinking back at him, you've only got the profile because we're the one doing the work, you know? So it's like, and both are somewhat valid arguments, but they're both wrong. You know, like
they're also both right.
Yeah, they're also both right. Yeah. So like I sort of really resonated with that because obviously as the business grows, like my profile in particular gets sort of bigger, but
as does your head.
Yeah, massively, right? But like not that I.
Look at that. It's your hat right there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. You could bathe in that. Yeah, so like I was like, okay, that seems like a really good thing to try and avoid. So we paid, I think it was $5,000 or $10,000 or something, to book in an hour time with him to be able to kind of like discuss those things in particular. And we actually realized when we came out of that we'd put in like 95% of the things that to mitigate those ahead of time, which I think was a great moment for us. We're like, oh, I think we have this somewhat under control.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, oh, Ryan's a superhero that is just a genius at all things, and that's why he's been successful. It's like, no, he's made mistakes, he's grown things, he's done things well, he's done things poorly, but at the end of the day, he's just done the work, put one foot in front of the other, and always tried to get better at doing certain things, and he's relentless, and that's why he's successful.
Yes, and there's a thought process behind that level of relentlessness that once you have, you know, we're pretty lucky to have a couple of guys in this company that have huge work ethics.
Yeah.
But when you combine that work ethic with like a thought process that is around business, it makes the work ethic actually useful.
Yeah, and I think it was an important moment to like, I guess, myth bust like these guys that are at these upper echelons of business. They're just that much smarter. And it's like they're not, you
just
know.
A couple years ahead.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, it's a couple years ahead, but it's a couple years of like making good choices, but also making mistakes, learning from those mistakes. Like we've been working a lot with Brad Lee, and Brad Lee, I mean, he runs a $100 million a year business. And it's like working with him, it's like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah, I had this, when I was having dinner with him, and I thought the same thing. I'm like, you're just a regular guy. You enjoy steak, coffee, and a beer.
Yeah.
Like, there's no difference.
It's like you're not a super genius that has just hit the jackpot. It's like, oh, you're just a guy that, you know, has done a lot. And so, like, that's not to detract from the achievement because it's like an incredible achievement, especially with the way he's done his profile as well. But it's just sort of like a good mentality to go for. And I think, like, the mentality is, like, if you're a young sales guy and you're looking at someone like a Marco or even a Jeremy Minor, it's like they're not savants. Yeah. Like, they're people who have spent the time to learn the skills and been somewhat patient in how they go about the learning of their skill set, and also knowing there are people out there who are better. And not only is that inspiring, but it's also good. It's okay for people to be better than you. Yeah. And like learning this process, like I got into high ticket selling, and within a year I was one of the top dudes in the industry. I'd say within 6 months. Yeah. And it wasn't, but like people were like, oh my goodness, it's so fast. It's like, yeah, but what about the 10 years of selling? Yeah. What about the 10 years of selling that I had to do before that, where I shit the bed on a regular basis, to be able to put myself in a position where I had seen and had so many interactions that it was like, oh, I get this now. And it's like, as you start to put things together, it all starts to click.
Yeah, you've got like a puzzle. You know, you might have like 70% done. You might have like 70% done, and then all of a sudden there's a couple of more pieces that you need to put in, then it's like, you go from 0 to 100 really quick.
Yeah.
But most people that come in, they might only have like a quarter full. They might be halfway. Therefore, they've still got heaps of pieces to lay down before they can put that one final thing that brings it all together.
Yeah. So I think, like, you know, one of the big lessons learned was to make sure that we expectation manage the younger guys that are coming through, and that we explain the journeys that the more successful people have had. Like, there's not, I mean, and there are exceptions to that. You look at someone like a Thales, who's never sold before, and within a year of selling is one of the top dudes in the industry, consistently selling over 7 figures a month, like every single month. Yeah, like, I mean, the guy's a phenom, but it's not that he is like an exceptionally gifted natural sales. That's not it. It's he only knows one process, which is NEPQ, which is an incredibly effective process, and he understands it. So he has no bad habits, right? So I remember when I came into the military, I hadn't really done any shooting, and they said, like, they were very clear: the people who have done the least amount of shooting will be the most successful shooters. Because the military teaches you only good habits when it comes to shooting. Military shooting styles are very, very good, especially sniping, obviously. And they're but they're very different to how a lot of like civilians would teach how to shoot. They're like very different. And stuff. Yeah, like, well, just the methodologies of how you prepare and how you squeeze and pull and aim and your body positions and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's very technical. And I became a really, really good shot very, very quickly. And it's just because I literally had no bad habits. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like, it just didn't have any bad habits. Yeah. And so, like, I think, like, with someone like a Thales, it's like, but I didn't have that, and a lot of people don't have that. That's, you know, and you can't go back in time and change that. But it's like, again, he just sort of succumbed to a methodology, went as deep as he possibly could with it, and then was patient and honestly relentless in how he trained it.
Yeah, so. But, I mean, there's also, like, there's a bell curve in everything.
Yeah.
Right. You can have 10 people come in. 2 are going to be terrible. 2 are going to be amazing. The rest are going to sit in the middle. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You know. So that's something to learn as well as with expectation management. But one of the business things is understanding more stuff and looking at things from more like of a macro level. Like, I mean, we started. Yeah, so we acquired many other companies and many other strategic partnerships within our subsidiaries. We're restructuring our company to make that work, purely based on there's like a point in time with business where you just like realize, oh, these are the next steps, and it just kind of hits you. And you're like, oh, okay, well, we don't have to just run this company. We can run 10 others that all work in tandem and run a larger company and add on many, many different things where there's some competition to drive a bit of innovation.
I think that comes from, to be honest, like if I have a look, it's like it was a cascade of effects that came from a couple of conversations that seemed interesting.
Yeah.
That's really it. Like, one of our sales reps was like, hey, this M&A thing is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm pretty into it. And I was like, okay, that sounds cool. Tell me about it. And then like within 6 weeks, I convinced 6 or 7 people to give us equity in their company. And then from there, we kind of had to start figuring stuff out. And it's like, we kept getting introduced to different people, like kind of randomly, to be honest. That then it was like, I'm very like, let's just say, I'm always say yes to the conversation, because you never know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
You know? And so it was just like, I think our skill set has really ramped up because we've like been attempting to do things that are probably outside of our skill set and outside of like where we should be, which is then going, okay, well, if we're going to make this work, we should probably start to learn about stuff. And then it's like finding people, because I don't learn well in a course environment. Like, I learn well from people. So it's like, okay, well, what do you know about this? Can you explain this to me? Like, one of our sort of business partners, clients, a guy called Dakota, I was like, I need you to help me understand why you're doing this. And he sort of explained it. And I was like, okay, that makes sense now. And then I was like, okay, now that I can make sense of the why, I can start to understand the how. And then moved into a house, and my neighbor is like super high level international CEO, mergers and acquisitions dude. Started chat rapping with him. Next minute, he's like on the board.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like just absorbing his information through him like a maniac.
And
shout out to him if he's listening. He probably is.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Hey, Kimbo, how are you?
Yeah.
You owe me $20.
Yeah. That's true. On the cricket. Oh, he did buy the tickets, but yeah.
Yeah, fair point. Well, because he messed up. So, but yeah, like the whole point there is I learn by figuring things out myself.
Yeah.
I don't learn from a course, but with like that.
And saying that, you should for sure buy the closing code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a course learner, then do it. Which
if you're not, we have role plays.
Right?
If we're not, you have role plays. That's why we have 6 role plays a week.
Yeah, but within that process, the only way you can get to that next level is like changing the thinking patterns. And when you start sort of thinking, it's like, oh, I didn't know about that. What else do I know about? And then you ask the question, tell me why you're doing this. Then you can start to look at conversations and look at interactions and predict, maybe if I start thinking, why are they doing this, and trying to figure it out, the motivations, the reason someone would want to help, the reason someone would go in business, you can really understand those motivations a lot better and start to be like, I can see how that could be turned into a business, or I can see how that can be used to make money. And then once you get that thought process going, it's pretty hard to turn off, and that's where better ideas come from.
Yeah, and I think it's about, like, for us as being out of the day-to-day more. Like me and you, me more than you, I think, but the two of us are fairly out of day-to-day grind and processes. I'm completely out. Like
I'm not fully.
Yeah, but we have different roles. Yeah, you know. But like I'm pretty much completely out of any sort of day-to-day running of the business. Like I essentially just answer questions.
Bar a couple of side projects. I mostly answer questions and give direction.
Yeah. So I say we have meetings and I go, it's a bad idea for this reason. Good idea for this reason. Let's look at it this way. And then everyone pretty much goes, okay, that makes sense.
And I'll say, no, you're wrong for this reason.
Yeah. And then we move forward with whatever we think is best, right?
Well, so, you're right.
Yeah.
Do it.
So, but that sort of leaves a certain element of creativity, which is why like a business will never truly grow until the business owner or owners are free enough to not be burdened with the day-to-day.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, and it's like the diaries look totally different, but you're still doing shit, you know? But I think like one of
cricket.
Yeah.
And it was
pretty productive.
It was incredibly productive.
Yeah. It was fun. I did a story, you know, marketing. So I think like one of the biggest shifts for me in 2021 was not looking at the value of a client or a project in terms of money, but in terms of, or cash, in terms of value it brings to the company.
And potential future opportunities.
Yeah, so value, right? It's like, and I had to sit down with Marco and with Will Hinkson about it, and I was like, if you guys are, because like we don't decide who comes on as a client. Like we don't. I don't know any of the new clients, right? Yeah. And I'll never speak to them unless there is an issue. Yeah. But they all know who we are, and that's great. But they come on as a done-for-you client. We are behind the scenes making sure that things happen, and I work with Will and I work with Marco to, you know, test and adjust things that aren't working, and they ask me questions about the accounts. But it's like only bring on accounts that you think will have will add a value to the company, let's say in terms of sale value, in terms of value, or like something that moves the ball forward in any particular way. Like, do we want another business coach that's just another business coach? It's like, no, we don't. We want someone who is interesting, who has a good business, who is doing something in a different way. Maybe they're getting on the leads through Clubhouse. Like, oh, hey, that's pretty interesting. Can we learn what they're doing and replicate it in our own coaching business? Or can we learn, like, can we work with them to perfect a Clubhouse sales funnel? And if we can, that's pretty cool. Yeah. And if we have businesses that are totally non-competing, then we can, you know, utilize that same process in other businesses that we're selling for, and we can make more money. So it's like, you know, those are kind of the things that we're looking for, ways that we can add value, because like we have, you know, 15 or 20 inquiries a month. We can only take on 1 or 2. So it's like, let's just not necessarily take on the ones that bring the most cash, but the ones that bring the most value.
Yeah. Yeah. What were some of the key business things that you've learned this year? Or sales? Because I'd say this time last year you probably haven't developed in sales over this last 12 months compared to the
I've probably gotten worse.
Yeah.
I would dare say I've gotten worse.
Is there any like key things you learned in sales over that time? Or is it more just business?
I think, I mean, for my personal development has been far more business. Yeah. Like I was shooting videos today for sales, and I was like, what was that again? Like it was I had to sort of go over notes, and it was a little bit difficult. I still teach the inner circle, so I think I've gotten much better at articulating certain concepts that people find good, right? Like I'm much better at articulating certain things. So I think my sales coaching has gotten better. I would say my actual sales has probably suffered a bit because I'm just not doing it that often.
Reps, right?
Yeah. Whereas like I'm sure Marco's way better than me now. The sales that I've done have been relatively successful, but I think in terms of that, like it's been more about sales management and like how to make sure that we get the right people to the right job and the settings up of those structures that create successful salespeople. Because like a successful salesperson, like 95 times out of 100 is a product of a few different things, which is like a solid system that the person can work within. It takes a good sales rep, right? This is for like phenomenal sales. It's like good sales rep with a solid system behind them. Yep. You can have a fantastic sales rep with a shit system. It'll be a relatively average result. And you can have a fantastic system with very average sales reps and you'll have success. We did like a brief consulting with a company that I had like comically terrible sales reps. Yep. Like we did the comically terrible. Nice guys. I'm not on them personally, right? But like the sales calls were absolutely terrible. I think we have a score out of 25 that you can get if you buy a call review off us. I think the highest one was like 9.
I've never seen someone get a 25.
No.
Even Marco doesn't.
I've seen someone get like 24.
Yeah.
But like, man, most of the guys were getting single digits, right? Which is really bad. Like, but this is a company that's doing $700,000 a month in front end sales at a 5K offer.
Yeah, right.
Which is a lot of sales.
It's a lot of sales. There's a lot of volume.
Exactly. And so like great process, terrible sales, right? Produced good outcome. If you then increase the efficacy of that sales team by 30 or 40%, sky's the limit. And they had some process issues, but their marketing was so good. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think it's about, I've learned and we've learned how to create environments that salespeople can be successful, which is why we have accounts that are doing 25 times ROASs. So for those of you sales reps, it's like 25 times return of ad spend. So they spend $1,000 on ads. They get a $25,000 return in cash immediately.
Like cash collected.
Cash collected, right? So, which is nuts. And we have a lot of accounts. We have some accounts that don't do that. I mean, we have a couple of accounts that do that well. Not all the accounts do that well. But like we've created a sales system, a sales team, and a sales environment where those numbers are possible because they have an internal sales team as well, right? And I won't say what their ROAS is, but let's just say the average combined between internal and external is 13, all right? Same leads, same everything. We use a different sales process than what they do because I was adamant about using my sales process and they nearly quit because of it, but I wouldn't give in. And I was like, just watch. And then sure enough, we win out every single time. But yeah, man, like the environment and the process and the systems behind it mean that like you don't have to have rock star salespeople. Yeah. You can have like good salespeople who are producing phenomenal results.
Yeah.
And I think like we're doing a management training at the moment or starting to.
It kicks off next week.
It'll be super interesting to see the sales reps see behind what we do as a management team to ensure, because I think sometimes, and some of them, most of them know that we do a fuckload of stuff for them, but I think some of them probably just think like, oh, they're just fucking getting us accounts. It's like, yeah, nah, dude. It's like there are people working around the clock to make sure that your sales are even possible.
Maybe we should release that as a course one day. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd have to
Give
be
us a like. We might.
It'd have to be expensive though.
Very expensive. Yeah, one of the big key ones, which really wasn't possible in the previous years just because of time and being bogged down, was making sure you have that space for creativity to actually think and come up with ideas. Right, like I come up with an idea for a second business the other day and it took me like 15 minutes. I'm like, I got that idea. Let's go make it. And that company, I reckon, will grow it to $800K a month in 6 months.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, but like that would never happen.
I had a couple ideas about that in the car today.
Oh, I had so many ideas.
Yeah. It's aggressive.
Don't get me wrong. With a lot of those ideas that we have, half of them are fucking stupid. Half of them will never work.
And we've done a few of them and gone, like, literally done like 3 months of work, gotten a month into it and gone, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And then we're like, it's kind of like we were going to do recruitment. And then we set everything up, did the whole thing. And then we did it. Like we placed like 8 or 9 people and then realized like that model just is not for us.
Not for us, yeah.
Like, and it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just there were a couple of like ethical things that we as a sales agency could not overcome. The big one was we're always going to take the best for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So then we're just giving away the B team and it's like, I don't want to do that.
It's like then we're known for just giving handy-downs. Right?
Yeah, so it's like, I don't want to do that, you know? And then we had a couple of bags that I didn't want to have to deal with.
Yeah, once you take that space for yourself to create time for creativity, to make time for creativity, it really accelerates things because you realize you shouldn't be bogged down in the day-to-day work, and creative people need creative outlets to actually grow things. And that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned is stop doing so much. The more time we take off now, the faster we grow. Yeah.
I've also learned that, like, apparently most people are pretty shitty sales managers and yell at their staff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you're out there right now and you are yelling at your staff, you have failed so much that I can't even begin to describe where that behavior even begins. And if you're being yelled at by your boss, quit, because that guy is a fully blown idiot. And I will say that to anyone's face, in front of anybody, because like having gone through like the special operations thing where like it's funny, man, like in infantry, people scream at you. In special operations, people don't scream at you.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there might be the one idiot, but 9 times out of 10, like I remember being in the regular army and people were like screaming at everybody, right? Screaming at people for everything. And you get into special ops and everyone's like, hey man, this is unacceptable for these reasons. And you go, all right, boss. And they go, all right, man, don't do it again. Yeah. Thanks, dude. You know why? Because you're an adult, and like a real leader does not have to yell at people. I just like, it boggles my mind. We've had a few guys come over from an organization. I won't say who it is, but, like they're literally being yelled at for like not hitting like a KPI or not doing stuff. It's like all that happens when you yell at someone is they disregard completely what you're saying. Idiot. And they just go back and they go, they think of you as a fucking idiot or a dirtbag or a douchebag. And they completely even like, they don't even like assimilate the information that they're being given.
Because why would you?
Yeah. It just, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
Like I just, man, it's so crazy.
Let's do a series of content on it.
Yeah.
It'll
get really good traffic.
Not to be a good leader.
We'll set up a funnel for it. Yeah. I just think it's ridiculous, man. I just like, and like I'm a 37, almost 38-year-old ex-special ops dude, army. Like if I don't feel the need to yell at people, I don't know why anybody else would. I just think it's just terrible leadership. And like sales reps are just treated so shit in so many organizations, and they don't stand up for themselves because like this is why salespeople are the most loyal people that you have on your staff, right? Because they buy into the product. Yeah. They buy into the service so deeply because they're convincing people every single day that they should do it. So you end up just convincing yourself this is the greatest thing on the planet. And so like you want to like fight for the cause. So you get asked to do this and you get asked to do this and you get asked to do this. And you know what I mean? You get like pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed because like the business owner basically knows that like you're not going to go anywhere. Yeah. You know? And so like I just think it's like salespeople are really commoditized and treated very unfairly in most businesses, which is why like at Sales Sniper, like this is a salesperson first organization. And we had a chat the other day.
Commoditize sales reps.
Yeah, and we had a chat the other day, but we also don't commoditize VAs.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of our VAs are on like standard Western wages.
Also, I don't know if you know this. A typhoon hit the Philippines while you're away. Our team like raised heaps of money. We forwarded them all cash so that they could buy
generators and stuff. Yeah, Tor was telling me. Yeah. But like you know, I had a very very like real chat with the leadership team the other day, and it was like because we were going over like our management training. And it was like, what is a core value that we need to espouse in management? And it was like your position in the company has no bearing on your worth as a person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, I'm the same value as the newest setter, as a VA. Everyone is a human being, and everyone deserves to be treated in the exact same way. Not that they're going to get paid the same way, but like everyone is the same value. And if you're not being treated like that in your organization, hit us up. We'll find a place for you. Maybe.
We'll put the link in the description of where you can apply to work with us.
Yeah. But like, mate, it's just like that is one of the biggest takeaways is like, I didn't know that most organizations didn't work like that because like I just refused to be part of an organization that would treat somebody differently because they're in the Philippines or because they're a chick or because they're this or because they're that. Like everyone gets treated equally.
And you know what's the stupidest thing? Of all the people that you'd pick to yell at, you don't make it the person responsible for bringing in your money.
Oh, yeah.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But
they might leave and take off the team with them.
Anyway, I think we've gone on for long enough.
I think we have 33 minutes.
Calls to get to.
All right.
I'm probably sure you do.
All right, guys. If you like this kind of content, make sure you like, subscribe, hit notification bell if you're watching on YouTube. If you are an audio-only listener, make sure you subscribe. Share this to whoever. We'll have some show in the show notes. You can join the closing code, which is our, like, you know, we have a portal. It's actually a monetized version of our staff portal, which goes through all different types of training and all different types of good stuff. And then we have access to a role play every single day with a coach. So if you want to do that, link will be in the description. I think it's $50 a week. Awesome. Aussie dollar dues. But yeah, guys, thanks very much for coming, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
What were some of the key takeaways that you had, Jimothy, in 2021?
Never trust ugly people.
Oh, yeah.
I think was number one.
Yeah. Is that why your mother doesn't speak to you?
That was great.